ever had this feeling that something was terribly wrong with the world that we live in, but you couldn't figure out just what it was? Then you've come to the right place. Secret societies, mystery religions, and the Illuminati have been controlling our reality since the beginning of time. But not anymore, because there is an awakening happening, and you are about to become a part of it. Wake up, because this is a call for an uprising.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. You gotta see this. I mean, this is just unbelievable that this is being rolled out in 2020. But Elon Musk, or let's just call him Elon Musk, this guy really should just be behind bars for some of the things that he's allowed to get away with. The lies, the fakeness of SpaceX. But now he's pushing the Neuralink. And for those of you not familiar with the Neuralink, is the microchip that'll be used to turn humans into cyborgs, aka for transhumanism, aka for the mark of the beast. Now you might say, how do they get away with stuff like this? How do people not see that this is not good, that this is not needed? Well, it's just the little way that they talk about how this type of technology will help motor functions in people's brains, people who don't have the same thinking capability, or people who have mental, issues, whether if it's somebody who has the disease like Alzheimer's and things like that, that this chip can prevent all these types of things. It can cure all these types of things by mixing man with machine. I'll let Elon Musk tell you for himself, and then we'll talk about it more.
So there's very tiny threads that are about a tenth, roughly, of the cross-sectional area of a human hair. So they're extremely tiny threads. In fact, the threads that we have, like I said, even in version 1, are about the same size as a neuron. So if you're going to go stick something in your brain, you want it to not be giant, you want it to be tiny, and to be approximately on par with the things that are already there, the neurons. You really need this to be done with a robot, because it's very tiny and it needs to be very precise. So you don't want to pierce a blood vessel. So when so each thread, the robot looks sort of basically through a microscope and inserts each electrode specifically, bypassing any vasculature, any kind of blood vessel, and making sure it's inserted without causing trauma, or minimal trauma. So just to give you a sense of scale, this is how tiny the threads are. That is not even a big finger, that is a small finger. So these threads are just like I said, way smaller than hair, and there's 1,000 of them. And this is what the robot looks like. It's sort of quite a complex device, but it all comes down to a very tiny point. So we want to just like you see the robots on the left, and then the what looks like the needles for insertion next to a penny, but in fact the actual needle that gets inserted is way tinier. It's that little tiny thing at where the arrow is pointing. That's actually the size of the needle, about 24 microns diameter. It's so small you can't really even see it in the picture with the penny. You can get a sense for the robot doing the electrode insertion. But that's a very zoomed in view. So they're all very tiny, and the robot is very selectively applying them very delicately, and then this is what the chip looks like. The action potentials. So each one of those represents one electrode. So there would be up to 10,000 of these lines. The operation on a per chip basis, it involves just a 2 millimeter incision, which is dilated to 8 millimeters, and then the chip is placed through that, and then it goes back to being 2 millimeters, and you can basically glue it shut. You don't even need a stitch. And then the interface to the chip is wireless, so you have no wires poking out of your head. Very, very important. So it's basically Bluetooths to your phone. Because we'll have to watch the App Store updates for that one. Make sure we don't have a driver issue. And we hope to have this aspirationally in a human patient before the end of next year. So this is not far.
I mean, how anybody would be on board for this, you would think would be beyond comprehension. But I guarantee you, there will be many on board waiting for this thing. Elon Musk has improved this controversial Neuralink technology, which, by the way, I mean, how this would even be legal, how the government would allow something like this with the FDA. But obviously we all know how corrupt all of this is. We know that the government is satanic. It's just unbelievable. The Neuralink technology that he hopes will just allow people to hook themselves up to a computer and become cyborgs, right? And this is part of the mind control that we hear about, becoming a better you. And, could you imagine mixing, technology with humans and computers and having Google inside your brain? And people are on board for it because they think everything's safe and everything's fun, and they become so enamored and obsessed with their phones and with technology that it's not going to be a problem to push the microchip. It's not going to be a problem to push the mark of the beast. It's just not. But when you read the Bible, and I know, like growing up, reading Revelation and reading about taking the mark, I used to go, what kind of an idiot would take this, right? What would be going through their mind to take it? Like, how dumbed down? There's no way. Well, now, as an adult, seeing how dumbed down society is, seeing how obsessed they are with technology, because back then, there was no real technology. There was the Zach Morris cell phone from Saved by the Bell, the car phone, and then that evolved into a flip phone, which I still use, by the way, all the way up to what we have now, where people are watching, football games while taking a dump in the other room on their cell phones. Pretty insane, right? Musk's company Neuralink is building tiny and flexible threads, which are 10 times thinner than human hair, which you heard him say. Musk, the billionaire boss of Neuralink, SpaceX, and Tesla, took to his usual stomping ground on Twitter to parade his latest development. He called the improvements to Neuralink and the scary robot that will insert the device into human brains truly transformational. Remember, the transformation is one of those words that I've been talking about where you hear it over and over and over. Specifically, the one I remember most is my first video that I did when I started my channel, which was on Rihanna's anti-diary video, which is Antichrist video. The whole thing was about taking the mark. One of the sickest videos you'll ever see. The video, of course, has been removed by YouTube. I can't find the video anywhere. If anyone has it, it'd be great if you could send it along to me. I'd love to re-upload it. But in the video, there's a lot of backmasking and things like that, and front masking, where they just go, the transformation's coming, the transformation. Yeah, they use Lady Gaga, Beyonce, all these other celebrities. We always hear them use transformation. It's one of those words that is, the occult is enamored by, that they use constantly, because this transformation is transhumanism, the transformation of the human race. It says the tiny brain implants, called brain-machine interfaces, connects the human brain to external devices and enables them to control computers, because this is really, really necessary, by the way. The company say these high bandwidth, high precision neural interfaces, dubbed N1, could be implemented in humans within the next 12 months. Well, yippity-doo-dah. Boy, last year Neuralink unveiled a version of the tiny device that could be implanted in a brain through a small incision by a robot. Now, just imagine how many test dummies they're doing this on. People hear this stuff, they never think about, and I always think of these people. You ever go somewhere like in a city and you see some guy walking around mumbling to himself and you just think he's some homeless crazy guy? A lot of those people were people who were test dummies. They were used in projects like Project MKUltra. And they get sent out back into society after they fry their brains by doing all this testing on them. That's what happens to a lot of these people. Just imagine how many people they scoop up to, because they're not testing this on lab rats, they're testing this on humans. What do you think, somebody's signing up on Craigslist to have this tested on them? Please. Maybe they use some prisoners, even that's doubtful. Probably just, grabbing homeless people off the streets, or people that go into FEMA camps when these, mass, storms happen, or these, they put the FEMA camps there, and people go in and they never see them again. It's probably what happens to them. It says this new version, which is going to be unveiled sometime in 2020, will be even more advanced, without spilling into many details. He says, wait till you see the next version that was rented last year. It's awesome. The CEO says the technology could help patients with neurological disorders restore motor functions. And like I said, that's exactly how they present this, so people think it's an advancement in technology for people who have Alzheimer's or anything wrong with them. Oh my gosh, their brains can be restored. Oh my gosh, somebody has a paralyzed leg, but maybe this, through the technology in the chip, their motor functions might change, and suddenly their brain is speaking again to all types of stuff they're going to use to manipulate people into thinking this is just an advancement in science, an advancement in healthcare. Really going to be sick, and people are just going to willingly take this, and this is the mark. By putting this inside, just mixing man and robot, man and machine. Whew. He says he hopes the secretive Neuralink startup hopes to link human brains to computers sometime this year. The optimistic timeframe does seem unlikely, however, as the company will have to pass strict regulations, and with Musk's track record of announcing ambitious timelines that never come to fruition, it remains to be seen if Neuralink will pass regulations for human tests. So you already know that they're running the human test. I mean, what else would they be doing with this? They're just making it in a lab, they're not testing on anyone to see if it works? Give me a break. Who's buying that? Can't imagine the people's brains that they fried. Can't imagine the people walking around with this thing in their head. I mean, look at this. They show off a concept image of a smartphone app for its brain implants. I mean, right? Use your smartphone, control your brain. Holy moly. And this dumbed down society, they will be lined up to take it. You know why? Because they're social influencers like Kim Kardashian and Kanye West and all of them will be out there going, it's so safe, it's so cool. You should go get it, and they'll make it seem normal. Oh, it's not any type of major surgery. Come on board, everybody, take the chip. Boy, get me out of here. Get me out of here. This guy should be, well, he's going to deal with it with a trumpet sound, but boy, I mean, this is just, it just shows you what an experiment the human race is to these people. And people just think it's wonderful news. It's not wonderful news. Don't put these things in your body. It is not worth eternity in hell. I thank you for listening to today's show. God bless all of you and your families.